Them internets, they'll sneak up on you. There we go. And let's get to this. Cool. All right, let's get to it. Let's see something cool. Someone in the community sent me this. Super cool. Let me see if I show you this thing. I'm all excited. Did that work? It didn't work. I'll show it later. It's a silver, like it's my logo in silver, like solid silver. It's really cool. It's like the helmet in solid silver. It's really interesting. Had to be expensive. All right, so let me get to this. Tells me to update the app. You update the app. You're not the boss of me. Tell me to do things. That's how they get you, the man. All right, let's get to it. And let's go to this and here. Let's go. Let's get to it. There's some real big things that I want to go over here. And, you know, you have news coming out, and we should really watch the tape here and watch the news. Jobless claims 200 in line. I should watch the tape for a sec. Just watch this because you have GDP coming too. So let's get to it and then we'll do it. See if we can get on them internets, make some money here. All right. So I got core PCE prices at 2.9 in line. What a shock. GDP's 4.4 versus 4.3. Trump meets with Zelensky, says the war has to end. Thank you, Captain Obvious. So claims are 200. Estimate was 209. That's good. Personal consumption rises 3.5. GDP annualized comes in at 3.8, which is where it's supposed to be. Thanks, John. All right. You got anything else for me? Okay. Nothing. All right, good. Let's start with the ES and then go from there, but I really want to show some key levels. I think it's super important. Why are you showing it to me this way? I don't want to look at it that way. I think a couple things that are super important here. Sales, as things come in, I will change them. And what I'm going to do is we're going to go to the daily, and I'm going to draw this every day, I think, for you crazy kids so that you can say it. GDP rises 2.3. Final sales domestic purchases 2.8. They're good numbers. I mean, you don't really go in a recession with a 4% GDP. And the annual rate was actually upgraded, not lowered. So that's good. Let's go through a couple things here that I think are super, super important. So if we go here and we drop this to the 4 hour and we do what we do in the morning, which is just click on the little line and we want to say, so we came down to the lower end of the range. And I'm just going to say something. When you're trendless, which you kind of are trendless, aren't you? You're better off not using moving averages as much. You want to know where they are, the big ones, but you're really going to screw yourself up. You need trending moving averages. That's why people drop to like the 100 when this starts to happen, because they need a moving average that's actually trending. If you're in a trendless environment and you're using moving averages, you're going to get destroyed. Just remember that. Now, if we're looking at something like the ES down here at that level, it's very clear that you want to watch that 68 level, right? 6809. And then, of course, that is your point of control from this point, and you can see how that's acting. One thing that people say you might want to do is, well, you hit a new high here. Do you want to drop it there as well? I can, but it's going to get me into the same range, right? A tighter range, but it's going to give me some of the same soup, right? So I don't really need it. I do check that when you hit a new one. What I might want to do there is do something along the lines of dropping a anchored level there on that new peak and just seeing that, make sure that that actually is the new peak, which it is. And then that can give me more color on how the people that are up in this area are thinking. Then what I can do from that is then drop it down, drop it like it's hot to a 5. Kids still say that, right? And then we would look at this and go, what a coinkydink. So we came up to the top, ran right into this, ran right into point of control and stopped. So maybe that's an area that we want to watch, right? Just maybe that's an area that we want to watch, that we just ran into, right? So just a thought. So if we go out here and look at that, and that gets me into that. And I don't understand this. Give me 1 second. I want to make sure that I'm Wednesday, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, 4, 4, 5, 9. Why are you giving me the ES like this? It's exhausting. So exhausting. So hard being me sometimes. So if you start looking at this area, you're over, under, over, under. I knew it wasn't looking right. And you can see that this is going to be the area of interest that we have to watch. I don't know why I would have to have extended hours on the futures. It's these kinds of things that just drive me insane. So, and then here you are at 69.75 because there is no extended hours on futures. You could have a cash open, but that's the cash open. It's different. Anyway, if you take a look at that level, that looks like where everybody was, what? Before they got Greenland and we broke down. So how much upside do you really have here? Not a lot. I don't really see a lot of upside yet. I really don't see that. And I think that you have to be cognizant of that. If we drop this to the 4 and go here and make sure of that, and you can see it very clearly here as well. And I think that that's really important for people to get. Now, the other thing that we can always do with this is drop the VWAP, or I'm sorry, just drop from that point and just go to here. But I really think you got to take in that low. And you have to kind of move these now from that area over here because this is your new swing high. And that's your swing low. So you have to move them. And we can see that battleground down here and the 50, which falls perfectly in with what else was in here, right? So again, and we'll just click on this so you can see it. Where does that fit in perfectly with? That fits in perfectly. Let me just make that perfect with your point of control. 50% your point of control from that peak to there. So that's like the mother of dragons levels for you crazy kids that watch Game of Thrones, 69.05. And now you're flipping that 68. And where's that take you? Back to the 78.6, which is also where your value high is. See, it's all connected. Yay. So what's that telling you? It's telling you that, yeah, we worked this off pretty fast, and let's leave it at that. But what is that really telling us? I think it's telling us that we're pretty limited on the upside. And I think that really what we're going to see is rotation over everything. So I think that's really what it's telling us. So I think we have to focus on it from that perspective. Now, give me a sec here. All right. Let's just keep going. Oh, that's why ASTS dropped and SATs dropped. Hold on. Now I'm getting it. Could you imagine being that dumb? I didn't know that. That's really good to know. Hold on 1 second. Sorry, guys. I have to do this. Blue Origin is going to come and compete with ASTS and SATS. Well, Jeff, it's going to be a little different than trying to launch Katy Perry in space. So good luck to you competing with them. All right, let's go. Where were we? Yes, let's go back to it. So we have to watch this area, and I think that's what you're going to run into. Let's do it with the NQ very quickly. You know how we got there. And we're just going to do this one super fast for time's sake, because I want to take a lot of questions today. And I'm going to say this for time's sake, you really need to start thinking about rotation over everything. And what I would be doing if I was you, and you should do what you're comfortable with, I would really be watching those Wednesday strength reports that I'm doing and the way I'm doing them, and start creating watch lists out of the names that are in that. That's just one idea. I'm sure you guys are busy with your Goonies reruns and everything else, but you just might want to consider doing
US
that.
for market
All right. Okay. All right. Hold on. Hold on. Hold on. All right. All right. Hold on. All right. It's over. That's stressful. Same levels, right? And we'd want to watch those levels, but I think there's more to it. All right. And then we'd want to go to NQ and go here. And let's drop this down to here. And this is my biggest concern. Like, I don't know. You didn't get through it before we wanted Greenland. And now it's like, what do you do now? You think you're just going to get through it now? Think things are better or worse now? Do you know stuff that other people don't know? I think you got to think about it that way. I don't see much here, from an upside perspective. And I think this is where people start to get really, really hurt. So let's get to it, and we'll get to that. So if we look at this on the NQ, that gets you to right up here, right? So where does that really get us? Right back to where you were before. I don't see the thing that's going to get me through the other thing, right? So this is super interesting. What a time to be alive, the way they launch stuff into space, right? Does anyone look at the old home movies of when we went to the moon and start to really second question things? Anybody? We should really do a tinfoil hat night one night. We really should. All right. Did I put that out there too? Hold on one second. I gotta make sure that's there. Yes, it is there. Good. Let me show you this. But wait, there's more. So one of the key things I really want to stress is when we mark these levels off, you should seriously consider these levels, what they are. And you see these ranges and you see how tight they're getting. I do think there's issues here. I still feel that way. I don't know that you're out of the woods at all. And it's somewhat of a concern of mine. And it's not because of anything that I'm seeing, but the valuations, is the growth going to be there? You start looking at these large language models and they're not getting that much, better, that much faster. People are like, oh, it's going to be able to do this. It's going to be able to do that. Like, you start asking it the right questions. It doesn't even know what year it is. So, just be careful. I think there's some of that out there. But if I look at this from when we're open and the range where you're at, what you'll see when we go from pre and post is you open right on it. Like, you literally open right on it. And, I think that is really important, because it also shows like where you're going, and you really haven't gone through this level. So when you look at the upside of this, what are you looking at? 75 basis points versus where you were, that low that held. I mean, if you're in the community, we were like yammering about these levels forever yesterday, and they held. They've been holding. I really think you have to think like that. Like, where does this lead? And then I think that over that, here, let me show you this. And I think that the game's rotation more than anything. I think you have to follow the rotation and stay in the leaders more than everything. And I think it's a stock picker's market. So you did flip. Let's go to the pre and the post and get rid of that. And you did what? You closed on it. So you probably want to watch these areas. And I think there's definitely something to that. I do want to take a bunch of questions. There's so many names that I could go over, but just see one more thing. All right. I'm getting a lot of questions about SMCI. And I got a lot of questions about SMCI. So I don't see it. Like, I get it. Everybody's looking for the next one that's like beaten down, that's going to rally. I don't know why I'd want to touch this. I really don't. Like, I'd run right into that, right? Like, maybe if you closed over the 55, but it's screaming down. It's not really, my kind of trade. Like, maybe it holds in here. Maybe it builds, and you build character out of it and you hold on to it and it works. And maybe someday, if you're lucky, you get back up and it turns itself around. But I don't see it, not after the short reports and the fact that they were right and they almost got delisted. Like, there's a lot there. So I don't really get it. I don't really get why everyone's so in love with that name. Like, but maybe because it's all over out there right now. Yeah, I think there's a couple things here. I think the thing with Intel, and my sense of it is, and this is my sense of it, is that people are going to obviously whack this thing around today because earnings are tonight. And I think if you're not up in it, you really got to figure out what you're doing there, if you're going to hold it or not hold it. I personally think the move is probably selling, I probably should have done it yesterday, really, but probably some kind of credit spread into it to just take money out of it. I have to look at the options and see where they are, if it makes sense, John, but I might do something like that just to make something off of it. But the one thing you always have with this name is, let me just say, everyone's got this bullish bias on it. Options are pretty expensive. So yeah, that might be the way to do this. So I think that's one way to look at it, like selling a put credit spread or something. I don't know that you're going to fall apart. I think you're going to have people step in and buy it. But I guess my head looks at this and thinks, like, they're not going to have revenue. So it's got to be the conference call that gets you there tonight. So I don't know. I don't know that everyone's going to want to hold all those gains into something that they know is going to suck. Right. So, that's kind of where my head is with it. Now, they did a bunch of turnaround here because they got all this money thrown at them. But I don't know. I don't know. You're looking at a future of what if there. And the browser camera died. Boo, no more bonding. All right, we got 13 minutes. We switch this out and go to the $8 camera that works versus the one you spent $1,000 on. Come on, Boomer, get it together. And does that work? Are we still bonding? Hold on. I think I can just do it this way. Is we bonding that way? Does that work? There's no way that's going to work. There's no way that works. Now it's a project. Hold on. That might work. Let's see what that does. Does that work? All right, now we're bonding. We're bonding differently, but whatever. This is the other camera. Looks like I'm in a fishbowl that way, but all right. Well, this is what you got. This is what you get. So it is what it is. So if we look at this, I think it's a crapshoot what it does tonight. I really do. I really do. I think it's a crapshoot. SanDisk, there's this thing floating around that Samsung raised their prices 80%. I have access to actual DRAM pricing. I don't see that. Like I can actually pull it up and see the numbers. I don't see what they're talking about. So this piece of data that's floating around on the Twitterverse where they're showing like Samsung increases things by 80%. I don't have one piece of research this morning from a firm stating this. Now, they don't try to be first. They try to be accurate. So it's possible they are trying to verify it themselves. But that kind of bothers me about this because does that mean that what we saw yesterday was based upon a bunch of crap? So I do think that these are the names that you want to play in, and I don't think that's going away, and I don't think it's going away with the STX or the WDC. I just don't see this as going away. You broke out, and since you broke out, like that's been it. I would love for them to get smoked, but they're just not. And you're coming into earnings, and I don't know how the heck that's going to go. Like I really don't. Like, what are they going to have to do to maintain these levels? And that's definitely something. EC is an absolute monster. We nailed this. I've done nothing with it. I don't believe so. There's nothing to do with it. RR, yeah, I own this, and I bought this back a year ago. I never did anything with it, and I threw it in one of these accounts. So I have like super long-term accounts with like very long-term themes. I think it was in here where they said they were going to have access to the first like robot brain chips. And then we did this, and then you had CES, right? And then we got excited. We're going to buy for CES. Yay, boo. And now I think people listen to this conference call and they're like, oh, that's why BlackRock bought, 7% of the company. And yeah, I do think there's something to it. I think you have to really take a very long-term outlook with this stuff. Like, I'll give you a great example of this. We had a guy in the room that was like yelling at me to buy this thing forever, like down here. You got to buy this. You got to buy this. I'm like, whatever, boomer. And this was 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago, right? 2 years ago. And, now and we've been trading it since like here. We've been like playing with this thing. And you can look at this and, now it's $100, $111. It can happen. You just have to realize that like it's going to take time. If you think it's that kind of name, it's going to take time. If you're doing it for like a quick trade and you're doing it for the swing, you got to watch like the 480 level. So it depends on why you're asking. PLTR, I feel like I'm in like a little bubble here. I don't know how I feel about this. I think it's completely overvalued and retail's trying to get out. That is really nasty. Like that is Janet Jackson nasty. Do you see how the left shoulder here is like weak and trout-like? Do you see how like this is like the big right manly shoulder over here, right? The bigger the right shoulder, the bigger the break when they break. So the question becomes, does it really break? Now, if we just use the bodies, forget the wicks, but just use the bodies, that's pretty nasty stuff. So yeah, I'm not going anywhere near this. I would be on the short side of it, but I don't want one of those little drones packed with all that little explosive coming at me. But in all seriousness, I have a hard time shorting winners because of valuation. That does not usually work for me because I don't have the conviction. I can short companies that are pigs and I can let them bonk around and stay short them forever. Like when I shorted this and I did it through this thing and I was shorting it here, I was fine with it. Cause I'm like, we shorted this at like 260. And I'm like, this thing's a pig. Like you're making, $1 million a quarter in your mom's basement. Like, okay. Some people pay margin interest like that. So like, whatever, dude, like this thing's going to just blow up. And it did. I can stay short things like that with a lot more conviction. When you're going to basically be the backbone of the Department of War through your capabilities, it's really hard to wrap a noodle around that and say, what am I shorting it for? Am I shorting it for it's going to drop to 140 or something like that? Like I can short term do it, but if this was just any other symbol from a technical standpoint and you're not shorting that, you're wrong. That's how I look at it, Jay. But because of what that company is, I mean, don't close under 11 3/4. Hello from Tokyo. Hello from Miami. You know, I just was looking at this the other day. Go run this screen tonight, Jacob, because you love this kind of stuff. I'll see if I can find it. I had it on my screen, but the number one, what are we doing, John? 8:30. Okay. I do think I have this thing I want to show you. I'll find it. If I find it, Jacob, I'll bring it tomorrow. I'm not going to spend time looking for it, but it walks through where people are moving to. High net worth people. Number one is UAE. Like they are literally people per capita are fleeing the UK further than anywhere else in the world. Like in the world, on the high net worth side. It's not China. Overall numbers, it's the UK. And then overall per capita, it's the UK. It's like, it's not even close. So I don't know what's going on over there, but like the migration numbers are insane. It's UAE that they're running, like people are pouring into the UAE. And it's also the US, and then it's Italy. That's really interesting that is the number one retirement area. And it makes a lot of sense. I'd like to know more about that. I mean, I met a lot of people from Greece, and they usually come up, they usually love it there. They usually love Greece, but they come here to the US to work. That's what I've found with people that I've met that are from Greece. The opportunities aren't there. But they love it. They absolutely love it. But it's more of there's just not opportunity there. So I've never been to Greece. I'm sure it's very nice. So is that a reason to buy it? I don't know. I think there's more going on there. You know, I think there's more going on there. You know what'd be interesting, Jacob, about this? And I don't have time to do it right now because I have about 6 minutes. To look at Greece and see, has Greece changed any of their tax policies recently? I'm going to make a note to self. That'd be really interesting to look at, Jacob. The chart looks great. Yeah. Well, you know, these all exploded. And it's the earnings. You know, this is where we're going to lose every bank. It's exploding. I think the larger issue, wow, that's beautiful. Yeah. I mean, it's absolutely beautiful. Like, that's like a picture, dude. It's perfect. It's like a perfect cup and handle, isn't it? My concern with the financials are just the 10-year. I think Europe's had it with the US. You know, I think that's why he pulled it back fast. Like, you hit us once with tariffs and you made us change our businesses. You know, we just had a new guy come in yesterday and he was actually being very kind about it. But, you know, their father owns a business in like Germany, and you could just tell that like complete frustration with not understanding the system. And how the system changes so fast. Like you can't adapt a business to that. And I think that's why he reversed course so fast, because people are just like, we don't want anything to do with it. And the reason I bring that up is from a regional standpoint. if Europe starts selling U.S. treasuries, U.S. has a problem. So, the treasury will spike back up like it did before. It'll be an issue, right? Like that's why all this stuff started happening, these spikes. So it's not good. And that does concern me with the regionals. I had a regional. I wound up just getting out of the way on it. I just didn't trust what was going on there. Teledyne Tech. I don't know why you're doing what you're doing. I'd want to understand it more than anything. Obviously, it's earnings. But they're talking about the growth. The estimate was here. The growth is not great. So that's got to be a conference call, dude. This is super interesting. What's up, trader? They're great ideas, Jacob. Oh, if you're trying to get into the community, I think for this batch of people, there's 2 days left. Please look for an email because there's 2 days left and then it's on to the next because the demand to get in is pretty strong. And I do all the onboarding calls, as you guys know. Cuban coffee in the morning. I went back to La Colombe. I've been drinking La Colombe again. I don't know. I don't know why, but I did. But I'm going to have to jump, guys. Maybe. I don't know. What are you doing to me here? I don't know. I don't know what name that is. Am I not reading it right? Is it my blue light glasses that are actually blocking my vision? I don't know why you're doing what you're doing. I would have to understand why you're just been on a tear all year. I don't know anything about it. I'd like to. I'd like to be friends with it, but I don't understand it. I'll get to this before I go. What do you got, buddy? Thank you. I'll make sure it goes to St. Jude's. That's where all the money goes from YouTube, by the way, guys. Even the ad rev. I put it there. It goes there, and it goes to St. Jude's, and it goes to what's the other one? Mighty Oaks. EQT GNRC. Will they run more on the snowstorm? I don't have a freaking clue. I don't know. I don't have a freaking clue. Let's take a look. I'm glad they auto start these so I can see them. So let's go take a look at this. Do you think you're up because of the snowstorm is really the question. Yeah, you could still go. See how that's all red still? See how it's red this morning and it's getting stronger? So. Mm-hmm. Give me a sec, bud. $54. That's where the majority of action is on the option side of that. Give me 1 second. See if we can look at the book real quick. Yeah, if you can get over 55 and you can stay over 55, you can go. You could keep pushing. If you can stay over 55, you can keep going. From looking at the option book, what was the other one? I don't like that one as much. You're losing into they're losing interest. You're bidding up, but it's thinner. I mean, if you know, devil's advocate, if you had to pick, you're going to get a push into this probably, and that's probably going to be it. I think the other one's going to hold better. I don't know which one's going to go higher, but I can tell you which one's going to push. You don't really have anything blocking you on this one, man. Like there's no real block here to 185, to be honest. Like looking at the markets, like looking at the option and looking at the book. Why that level? Where does that get me? Let's just drop that down. It gets you right there. I don't know why it's right there, but that's where you're at, 185. You don't have anything till you get to there, but they're not playing that one anywhere near as much as they're playing the other one. But there's nothing really there to stop it. This is interesting. Just give me 1 sec. Let's just see one more thing here, and then I'm gonna have to jump, I think. Yeah. So just watch that higher end of that. 181, 182. Might as well do it on this one too while we're here, and for a penny and for a pound, right? Yeah, you're going to definitely be different. I could just do it in this range and go back to 25. I don't want to do it from there. I want to do it from, but you already hit a peak. So we do it from the low point. Yep. So you're over, and you want to make sure you stay over, and then you got to just watch that like 56 3/4 level. That's how I say it, but you should do what you're comfortable with. Good morning from New York. Good morning from Miami. I have to think about where I am. Let's just keep going. You guys love your SMCI. They can keep pushing. Yeah, I don't know much about it. So, I really don't know much about it. Yeah, I like that a lot. I like Poland a lot. Like they're killing it. Spain's beautiful. A lot of people have, bro. Like I think that was yesterday. Like you can't keep doing this. That's where I think it was. Thoughts on DY? I actually think that people got a hold of them. Like you can't, like people can't figure out what their next move is. And that was really the problem in March and April too. That's why hiring stopped. Like people will just start freezing money. You're jumping this morning. I don't know what the news is, buddy. I really don't. The chart looks great, but I don't know what your news is there, buddy. I truly don't. I'd want to know that. I'm wondering that. I'm wondering if it's a Greece thing, if they changed what Italy did, because Italy's insane what they're doing for people there. What's up, Mon? All right. That's it. Like the video. See you guys. Trade to win. Make good choices.